All right, lads, how we doing? So it's Thursday afternoon here, and I am currently sitting in my my biggest winner so far on this into my ninth month profit streak. But I wanted to hop on and talk through two lessons that I realized I used to be fucking up, and that I've now fixed, and are the reason that I'm able to be in this trade. And the two things, really quickly, are: the first one is showing up after a loss. I've talked about this before, but this used to be one of my biggest killers. Is I would take a loss, be so attached to the outcome of each trade that I felt like I had lost, that it was my fault, just get so beaten up, feel like absolute shit, just be curled up in the bed in a ball, like just hating myself. And then the next day, price would move. The same move that I had anticipated, I would have been, let's say, quote unquote, right, or my strategy would have been accurate, my analysis was accurate, but I didn't participate because I got so affected by the loss. So I was basically just associating myself with the trade, like we all do. And I still do it, but I now view it more as the strategy. It's the system, and I execute the system. And again, we all know to think these things, but putting them in practice is a completely different ballgame. But yeah, this trade. So I'm longing GU, and I entered it on Wednesday, and was stopped out, and then came back, or entered it on Thursday, got stopped out, came back again on Friday, executed, and yeah, up like 6.5% at the high today. It's pulled back a bit now, and that does segue into what I want to talk about. But just around this point off, it happened so many times that I would enter a position, get stopped out, and then the move would happen. Sorry, lack of air. And it was in trading. Let's frame it from here. In trading, we all heard it's fucking game of probabilities and all that shit. Which is I have a bone to pick with that as well. But anyways, just stay on point. We're discretionary trading. Mechanical system is a great way to remove us from the equation, let's say, because oftentimes in the beginning we are the issue. So I keep having to go backwards. In a business, we always want to focus on, okay, what is the constraint? In our trading business, the constraint can either be us or the system. For me, it was not the system, it was me. It was for years I was the issue. I was the reason that I wasn't withdrawing profits from the market. The system worked. I then kept changing the system. So I was not focusing on what was actually broken in the business. I was focusing on the easy thing to fix. Yeah, let me just tweak this. Let me improve this risk reward. Let me try this thing out. And they all worked. And everything can work in trading. Like literally, like as we say, we know we can flip a coin, go long or short. If we have proper risk management, we can actually make money doing that. And it's true, we genuinely can. I wouldn't want to do that because I prefer to win considerably more than I lose. But that actually would work if systemized and if traded mechanically. Staying on the mechanical element, if we have a system that we know X amount of times in a month we will perform, or our system will play out, if we don't participate in those, we're actually skewing the results of our system. So therefore our probabilities are out of whack. So if we take a trade, we get stopped out and we don't show up the next day and we miss it, we then have messed up the data for that month. Therefore, we actually might not be profitable in that month. So we have to actually execute every time our system gives the entry to allow our probabilities to play out. And I wasn't doing that. I was taking the loss. So that was one part of the loss, which is incorporated into the system. It's not 100%. But then I wasn't catching the winner. So then my data was just completely off, or more so my results were completely off. And yeah, I genuinely just did that for years, just getting beaten up. So the main point is then even even if we take the loss, first of all, try and disassociate as much as we can from the outcome. Fucking easier said than done. Having money coming in outside of trading definitely helps with that. I don't have that right now, which is why I'm super proud that I can actually still show up. It's a real testament of how far I've come, that even without any more money coming in outside of trading, that when I take a loss, I'm able to then show up. It still hurts, but I know that I have to, like, it's one of the requirements. I have to show up the next day. If the system's there, hit it. So that's the first part where I noticed I had grown. And the second one was letting my winners run. So this was, and it will be a motherfucker for all of us, our entire internal makeup, we're literally hardwired to avoid uncertainty, to protect ourselves. And those two things, literally, when a trade is in profit, that is my entire body was just screaming, close the trade, close the trade, close the trade, up 3%, and every part of my being wanted to close the trade. But I know that I just had to say to myself, what used I do? What would old me do, let's say? And I would have closed the trade at 3%. That old me then wouldn't have been up 6.5%. And then even again today, up 6.5%. I saw the hourly close super bullish, and I thought, okay, this next hour is just going to be a massive pullback. And I just had to say to myself, with every ounce of me wanting to close that trade, this trade was enough to pay for the next 2 months here in Peru. And I just had to say, look, am I closing this trade for the money because I want the monetary amount, or is it because I don't believe in the trade anymore? And the answer is simple. Like, I wanted to close because this is enough to pay for the next few months. That is the answer. Plan trade, trade plan. I planned to take this GU expansion for the whole week, and I would be doing myself a disservice, even if this comes back and this trade turns into a loss. I have to be okay with that. And again, easier said than done. I won't be okay with it. It'll be horrible, but I will accept it, if that makes sense. And eventually maybe I'll be okay with it. But that's what I'm working towards. It's the acceptance. Yes, we would love to not feel these emotions, etc. I'm a few years away from that, to say the least. But at least I can do the actions. At least I can not do myself a disservice and close my trade early just because I wanted to secure the money. And this comes down to the whole thing of like the logical brain and the fucking... There's the trading and then there's the life. It's like, okay, my life and my logic and my brain are telling me close this trade because, again, it's my next 2 months taken care of. But at the same time, that's not how trading works. And there will always be that thing. It'll be like, oh, well, I'm up 10 grand now, so like that's something I used to dream about. And then that 10 grand will never turn to 20 grand, and then we'll never have that 50 grand day, etc. And it's always going to be, I'm not making that now, but that will never happen if I don't fix the issues right now. So yeah, so I'm holding the trade, and it did pull back straight away, and yeah, I can. What helps is not looking at the monetary amount. What helps completely is fucking just not watching the charts at all. But again, easier said than done. In proper practice, I should just ignore the charts. My brother said to me, "What was it? A watch pot never boils," and it's the same in the charts. If we're constantly looking at the trade, just willing it and wishing it to go up, we're just causing the suffering there. Like, the trade can turn into a loss, then boom. Okay, yeah, I lost. Let's move on. Like, the less thoughts we give to it, the less pain there's involved in it. Again, there is the pain of the loss. We have to take the monetary hit, but us staring at it coming down to our stop loss, that's the suffering part, and that's the optional part. We don't have to suffer. We can feel the pain, but we don't have to suffer in each trade. And the same in this. I can sit there and watch this trade go from 6.5% down to, let's say, 4 or 3%, thinking about, is this going to go back the whole way? Or I can just let it run, know that I already have my targets in place, and yeah, just let the market do what it's going to do, because me watching it isn't going to change anything. I don't plan on getting involved in this trade. Like, I'm so far away from my stop loss. My target is set. There's nothing that I can actually do by watching it. It's just wanting to know, just putting my racing mind at peace. And sometimes it puts it at peace when price goes in my favor, but then it's the opposite when price pulls against us, and then I'm just causing myself hell by looking at it. I don't want to sit here and say, oh yeah, just don't look at your trades and don't look at the monetary man, because I do it all the time. I know the stuff that will make it easier, but I don't always do it. And again, maybe in a year's time I'll be sitting there saying with certainty, don't look at your trades, don't do this, because then I won't be doing it. But for now, I can say with certainty that, like, to myself 2, 3, 4 years ago, the one that was taking the losses too personally, not showing up every day, not showing up on time, not doing the review process, not recording data, I can say with certainty, you have to do those things to that version of me. And it wasn't until I did those things that I started to see the profits. And the other biggest thing was, you have to let the winners run. Because, again, the data is the data for a reason. The data that we've gathered, whether it's from backtesting or forward testing, if it's from backtesting, that only works because in the backtesting we actually held it to take profit. If we're then closing in lifetime for a monetary amount because it makes sense to logically, because it pays for our next 2 months, that isn't accurate data. So yeah, I'm holding. Weathering the storm of these pullbacks, because it's what I have to do. Because if I was, I put this trade on my story, so I called it out before I entered the trade. So I'm looking to long GU. I posted on my story when I entered it, just for like personal accountability. And yeah, I've been giving updates on the trade, and people have been messaging me saying, "Bro, close out! Like, you're 5% up. I've been in the same position, and be careful that it's not greed." And I respect people reaching out and saying that, and logically it makes sense. And every part of me wants to close the trade, but I'm not in this trade holding on to it because of greed. If I closed, it would be because of fear. So it's always just that dance between, is it fear or greed? Is it love or fear? And I would be closing out of fear if I close the trade because I was up 5%. Plan trade plan. That's literally it. So yeah, I've planned my trade. I have my target, and yeah, I'm gonna hold. Who knows? This fully well could come back. It's NFP on Friday. Today's Wednesday. My bad. Today's Wednesday. So we've got one more day till to get this push. If we don't get the push before Friday, I'll close out just shortly before NFP, because yeah, it's obvious. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to touch on. Just those two main things. What were they? No, it's showing up the next day even after a loss, crucial, and holding trades, absolute things that used to just keep me stuck, and I'm not doing it anymore. Guys, that's it. I'll wrap it up. I'll just ramble on. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Now I'm gonna go have lunch with a buddy and just not think about this trade.